My clients have closed tens of millions of dollars across varying industries using Facebook and Instagram ads, and I've cooked up 10 of the best ad and funnel strategies in no particular order to help you close high-ticket deals. Each strategy will be ranked by the name of the strategy, how it works, who it's good for, and the drawbacks of that specific strategy. And at the end, I'll be sharing one of my more advanced ad strategies that I typically reserve for paying clients completely for free. So to jump straight into it, strategy number 1, we have instant form ads. How this works is by having ads that direct prospects to fill out a form immediately without leaving the platform itself, capturing their contact information straight away. This is typically really good for agencies or done-for-you services who want to target local B2B businesses or people who generally just want to get cheaper B2B leads. However, the drawback to this is that lead intent can be lower due to lower friction unless you have a ton of questions on your form. It also requires a very aggressive sales team who aren't afraid of following up until either they or the lead dies or buys. Strategy number 2, we have follow ads. So how this works is by having a running traffic campaign straight to your profile or just by boosting a post. Some sources claim to get a 1.8x better result doing it through the boost button on Instagram, but I have no real data to confirm that for myself. What I do know is that this ad strategy is typically good for beginner B2C coaches, local agencies, and local businesses looking to build a brand and presence because it increases the flow onto your page and hopefully the number of followers that you get, which you can consider your leads. However, the drawbacks to this is that since it's a very top of funnel ad strategy, there's no real way to optimize for anything after the click. Although you will get cheap leads, it does require a lot of follow-ups like the instant form strategy, which can be very aggressive. You will need to hire a setter though to live in your DMs to book in calls with inbound followers. Strategy number 3, we have DM ads. This works by setting up an engagement campaign and optimizing for messages sent, and is typically used by a lot of B2C fitness coaches, and you might have seen people just on Instagram or Facebook use these ads when they're asking you to message them a specific keyword. This is really good for B2C coaches and fitness professionals looking to generate direct engagement and inbound leads through direct messages. But the drawbacks to this is that Meta is always going to optimize for the cheapest possible message sent. So this is again a very top of funnel strategy and requires aggressive follow-ups from setters or SDRs, even though you supposedly get cheap leads. But pro tip for anyone using DM ads, follow ads, or maybe instant form ads is that if you have an existing client base of over 100 unique customers, you can create a lookalike audience based on the people who have successfully paid you through your payment processor. This helps get higher quality leads, and I know this works very, very well for coaches and consultants selling high ticket offers. But be warned, you will have a higher cost per lead, but hopefully a lower overall cost per acquisition because your lead intent and lead quality should be much higher. Strategy number 4, we have webinar funnels. This works by optimizing for a lead to fill out information on a landing page or some form of live or pre-recorded event later on in time. This is really, really good for trying to convert educational offers, so think courses, consultancies, or programs, or even coaching offers where you're noticing the sales calls are turning too educational. But the cons of a webinar funnel is, although you'll see a higher close rate because the value and trust has already been built, it can get very tiring, especially if you're having to perform live on a weekly basis. If you do decide to go down the pre-recorded route, just be careful because you definitely need to have a lot of practice to really nail it, and people will be able to tell if you're not comfortable on camera or performing live with these webinars. Strategy number 5, we have VSL funnels. Now, the basic version of a VSL involves a 3-step setup where you basically just have a video sales letter or a VSL on the landing page to encourage people to book an appointment via an application, or if you're feeling really bold, it will go straight to a call scheduler. This is typically good for B2B businesses who are trying to go bigger than their local area and want to automate the call booking process for when a prospect sees an ad to interacting with your business. This is incredibly good at harvesting calls if you have a large reach or are retargeting a large audience of warm prospects. So if you have a larger following, this might be something to consider on the B2B side of things. Now, the drawbacks of a VSL is that you may see a higher cost per lead, since asking someone to jump straight onto a sales call is a pretty big ask, especially if you're using a VSL for cold traffic. The exception is that if you're providing some form of a done-for-you service. If you're selling an offer that is either done for you or for an agency, or has a done-for-you component with your consultancy, the sales calls can become pretty easy since it's typically just a yes or no answer that you're looking for and you don't really need crazy sales tactics. Quick note, I already did make a video talking about the perfect VSL setup, so if you want to check that out, you can just click the card that should have popped up on this YouTube video, or take a second to scroll through my channel to go ahead, watch it, and learn how to execute on a VSL funnel for yourself. Strategy number 6, we have low ticket to a high ticket funnel. How this works is by having a normal funnel essentially where you use a sales campaign to sell something cheap on the front end. Maybe it's a $1, $27 or a $97 thing to help you make a little bit of money on the front end to buy more customers using paid ads. This is mainly used to qualify buyers and rapidly build trust through a series of products that get offered as upsells right after the initial purchase to increase the average order value. This can help facilitate buying more customers, obviously, with the new money that you'll be bringing in. And it's really, really good for B2C coaches and maybe B2B coaches too, actually, if you're selling like a sales script or something like that. But I rarely do see agencies use this, just from what I've seen. Now, the drawback to a low ticket or high ticket funnel is that you will almost always lose money on the front end, especially if you're not very experienced with setting up campaigns. You'll be relying on a lot of upsells on the back end to make your money back with the extra bit of profit, which is obviously why you're in business. I really don't recommend this strategy for beginners. Strategy number 7, we have a lead magnet funnel. How this works is the exact same as a VSL, but you give them free access to something useful to the type of person that you're targeting. Maybe it's a free course, a free training, a template, just something in exchange for their contact information to remarket to them later down the line. And this is good for info businesses and people who have a lot of experience in the actual business world, because you do need the experience to build out a really good lead magnet majority of the time. But the drawback is that this is incredibly unprofitable on the front end. In fact, I have some insider sources. Alex Hermosi's media buyer reports that you lose a lot of money on the front end, but over a long enough period of time, you can start to see a 6 to 20 times return on ad spend. However, this does require you to be able to stomach spending tens of thousands of dollars upfront with no return on investment apart from a name, email, and phone number. You also have to be mindful by using words like free in your advertising, because it's super easy to attract vultures who have no intention of ever making a purchase from you. Strategy number 8, we have challenge funnels. Now, this is a step up from the webinar and they also really crush. This is typically a 3 to 5 day paid event where you take prospects through a challenge to achieve some form of desirable outcome in an effort to really build their trust in you and what you're selling. This works incredibly well for info businesses, biz op offers, and coaches as well. But the problem is challenge funnels can be very exhausting to execute on because they are typically live and definitely not for the faint-hearted. To get a really good challenge funnel, a lot of prep needs to go into it beforehand, and don't forget, to really see a high conversion rate at the end of it, you need to make sure that the people are actually doing the challenge and that it isn't so difficult to get the result so people don't fall off towards the end of it. Strategy number 9, we have the basic retargeting ads. How this works is you essentially just pick a part of your funnel where you see a lot of people dropping off to retarget them with paid ads. This is an attempt to bring them back into the sales ecosystem, which you should be building out to pick up the leads that you would have otherwise lost. And this is good for everyone to be using because you're exposing more of yourself to your prospects. I don't think I can really come up with drawbacks with a basic retargeting ad, apart from you might be using the wrong type of content depending on which part of the funnel that you're targeting. For example, if you're targeting people who have clicked onto your landing page, it wouldn't make sense to retarget them with ads that introduce them to who you are, because they're probably already aware of who you are and what you're selling since they've already visited your landing page. And finally, strategy number 10, we have the force nurture ad strategy. Very important note, this is one of the more advanced ad strategies that I reserve for my paying clients, but I couldn't help but share and include this in this list because it did help someone close a $17,000 deal. Essentially how this works is It's a step above the basic retargeting ads, where we are forcing prospects to consume our content depending on what part of the funnel that we're targeting. We'll set up the ads in a way where we optimize for a through play, but we also exclude people who have already seen a through play of that specific ad. Meaning someone who has already seen your forced nurture ad will never be shown that ad again and will be forced to consume another piece of your content. This is incredibly powerful to use for anyone who makes content to quickly warm your prospects up by force feeding your content to them. And if you wanted to go one step further, this is incredibly good to use propaganda content to shift people's beliefs in favor of them buying from you. Again, this is a slightly more advanced strategy, so the only thing you'll have to do to, learn how to execute on this straight away is click the link around this video to invest some time into learning how to set it up in Ads Manager with the video that I've obviously included on the screen somewhere around me talking. And if you want to learn more about my offers, by the way, you can just go ahead and check the description down below. And until next time, my friends, happy scaling.